Free your mind and the rest will follow, as sung by En Vogue in the 1990s. It's true. It is absolutely true. If you free your mind, you will free up so much else in your space, in yourself, in your life, and in your body. We are talking about the power and joy of meditation. Now, I use the word meditation with lots of caveats attached to it. I think meditation has gotten a bad rap. The word, that is, not the actual process. People associate it with, I see it as a very practical piece of one's self-care program. Some people see it as a sort of spiritual luxury. Some people see it as only connected with people living a spiritual, blessed life. Some people will see the word and switch off immediately. If I use the word mindfulness, that gets a little bit more attention. But really what we are talking about is meditation, or finding the quiet. And even finding the quiet, I think that conjures up all kinds of woo-woo for people. But I really am all about making spirituality as practical as possible. I think it's so important to understand why these tools work, what they're actually intended for. Otherwise, it becomes a segregated sort of religion. And actually, the act of being able to tune in, turn the noise down, and find that internal quiet, peace and quiet, is absolutely fundamental to creating the desired life, to intentional creating and manifestation in life. Without that, there's no hope. You have to get that base level in place. You have to get that foundation in place. And how we get that is we sit down and we find the quiet. And I have been teaching meditation for nearly 20 years, on and off, in various guises. I've had all kinds of people come through. I always get people saying, "Oh, I can't meditate." And it's often because they see it as this thing that's out there that they've got to connect with. And that's not it at all. It is really just sitting down, closing your eyes, focusing on your breathing for 5 minutes, 2 minutes. If you can do it for 2 minutes, you will create quantum leaping shifting, even for 2 minutes. Really doesn't have to be hours and hours spent in this space. It is about just tuning in and making the shift. And it's very simple. But what will happen as you go to, because this is the ultimate giving to yourself space. It's the ultimate switching off from the rest of the world, hanging that do not disturb sign on your aura, your electromagnetic field of energy, and saying, I'm unavailable for the next whatever. Once you get that practice going, once you get that in place, everything becomes a lot easier. But getting it started, I mean, I remember when I was first learning about meditation back in my 20s, which is nearly 30 years ago, when I was at the Berkeley Psychic Institute in California, and I would sit down to practice what I was learning, the phone would ring. Something else would occur that demanded my attention. And I had to learn that actually I just let that go. That's not for right now. And all of that time spent in learning has brought me to a place where now I will wake up, and sometimes even before I get out of bed, I'll sit up, I'll close my eyes, I'll put a timer on, close my eyes, and just tune into my breathing for 5 or 10 minutes. And that will change the course of how the day is going to go, just by doing that. Sometimes I'll get up and move my body around a bit first, and then I'll go and sit down and do the same thing. And on the days when I don't get the time to do that in the morning, everything is a little more clunky, if not chaotic. But if that's the case, I will always find time at some point later in the day to sit down and make that connection. And now I mostly only need to do, I usually do 10 to 20 minutes, and that's enough to keep me connected to myself and the divine, and that constant flow of communication of what's the next thing I need to do? What's the next thing I need to do? Where am I going next? So it is a way of really clearing your own internal communication with, some people call it higher self, inner self, life force, prana, tai chi. No, not tai chi, that's a thing, sorry. Chi. I don't care what you call it. It's just about finding that place that gives you that internal peace to be able to make the decisions you want to make to move your life forwards, whether it's your business, whether it's your personal life, whether it's a relationship, whether it's about your health and well-being. I don't care what it is, but creating this foundation first is what's going to give you that platform to make the next best choice from there. And it is absolutely backbone to my healing from cancer. Now, I struggled with meditation when I first came back from the States, because I struggled to sit still. And that's when I took up running, which is another video. I'm not going to talk about that today, because that was about moving the body. My body also needed to move, but it also needed to be still. My mind needed to be still as well. And on the days when I couldn't sit still, then I went running, which cleared my mind. So you can access this place from many spaces in your life, but there is a particular kind of quiet that comes from actually not having any other engagement. So where you are just sat still, you are just focusing on your breath, or, well, actually, even without using meditation, nidras, etc., there is a space of just focusing on your breath that brings you in connection with yourself, where there's no other interference. Everything else will help you, but I think that place is magical when you can find that for yourself. And like I say, here's the how-to. It's 2 minutes. It might be 2 minutes sitting on the toilet. I always put the timer on because it helps me focus. I don't look at the timer, but knowing I've put the timer on allows me to close my eyes and just go within. 2 minutes becomes 5 minutes, becomes 10 minutes. And you'll find the amount of time that works for you each day. And it becomes part of that practice of what you need to do, along with, if you're a small business owner, for example, if you're an entrepreneur, it becomes part of that practice of doing your social media strategy or your marketing. So you build that into the whole story. If it's about your health and well-being, it becomes part of that program for that. So I don't just meditate, I move, I journal. But I wanted to talk about the joy and power of meditation, because I also notice that there is a relief in my central nervous system when I connect with that space. It's like, there's nothing else I have to do in that time. Nothing. I don't even have to focus on anything. I just tune into the breath and feel my body moving in and out. And just doing that creates space, because I have mentally disconnected from everything else I'm engaged in. And then what I find throughout the day, if I hit roadblocks, which we all do, I go, right, 2 minutes, sit down, regroup, reground, disconnect, resets the energy again. So it's just this constant mini rebooting all the time. Very powerful. It's one of the things we work on in the spiritual coaching and healing sessions. It's as well as doing clairvoyant work with people, I like to help people set their own foundation and find this space for themselves if they don't already have a practice. Some people I work with already have a practice that works for them, and some people don't, and they need to create this foundation first. So if you're interested in working with me in a spiritual coaching and healing session, they start at 199. DM me the word healing and I can give you more information. Have a great afternoon, morning, day, wherever you are tuning in from. Bye.